There is a point in every Roblox player's life where you run out of things to do. You have played the same 5 games for the last 3 years. You have watched every update video. You have spent an irresponsible amount of Robux on accessories you will never wear again. And eventually, you start wondering what would happen if you played Roblox while drunk. This is not a question humanity needed answered. This is a question that should have remained buried somewhere between Pet Simulator and the Roblox terms of service. But unfortunately, I have access to both Roblox and extremely questionable decision-making. So here we are. The plan was simple. I was going to drink a little, open Roblox, play some games, and see whether my gaming ability would change. I expected myself to become slightly worse at the game. I did not expect my brain to immediately uninstall basic motor functions. The first mistake was thinking I would somehow become better at Roblox after drinking. I had this completely irrational confidence where I thought I was about to become some kind of gaming genius. I opened Roblox, stared at the homepage, and suddenly every game looked like it had been created specifically for me. There was Brookhaven. There was Blox Fruits. There was Arsenal. There was some random simulator with 17 million visits, where the entire objective appeared to be clicking a button until your character became spiritually unemployed. Everything looked incredible. I felt like I had discovered gaming for the first time. So naturally, I chose the most complicated game possible because apparently my brain had decided we were conducting scientific research. I loaded into the server and immediately forgot what I was supposed to do. My character was standing in the middle of the map while I stared at the screen, like I had just been given the controls to a commercial airplane. W was forward, S was backward, A was left, D was right. These are concepts I've understood since childhood, yet suddenly they became advanced mathematics. I pressed W and walked directly into a wall. I pressed A and walked along the wall. Then I pressed S and somehow ended up facing the wall again. At this point, I realized I had achieved something impressive. I had lost a fight against a building. The building had no weapons. It had no animations. It did not even know I was there. Yet somehow it was winning. I decided to calm down and simply explore the map. This lasted about 12 seconds. I saw another player running across the street, and for some reason my brain interpreted this as a personal challenge. I chased them. They were faster than me. They jumped over an object. I attempted the same jump and immediately launched myself into a river. I climbed out, chased them again, jumped onto a platform, missed the platform, fell again, and eventually accepted that this random Roblox player had become the final boss of my evening. The funniest part was how confident I remained throughout all of this. Every failure had an explanation. The controls were delayed. The server was lagging. My keyboard was broken. The moon was in the wrong position. At no point did I consider the obvious possibility that I was simply playing terribly. Then I opened the chat and saw someone typing. Normally, reading Roblox chat requires almost no effort. You glance at the message and move on. This time, the message appeared to contain approximately 12,000 letters. Someone had typed something completely ordinary, but my brain treated it like an ancient prophecy. I stared at the screen, trying to understand it. I read the sentence 3 times. I still had no idea what they said, so I replied with the only logical response available to me: real. I had no idea what I was agreeing with. I could have just confirmed a national emergency. I could have accidentally endorsed someone's tax policy. It did not matter. I was now participating in Roblox society. After a few minutes, I decided to switch games because this one had become too difficult. I opened Arsenal. This was where things became genuinely catastrophic. Arsenal is normally a fast-paced shooter where you need decent aim, movement, and reaction speed. Unfortunately, I had arrived with the reaction speed of a decorative houseplant. I spawned in, saw an enemy, aimed at them, fired approximately 30 bullets around their general zip code, and died instantly. The kill cam showed the other player standing perfectly still for half a second before shooting me. I had somehow missed a stationary target while they had transformed me into a Roblox obituary. I respawned and decided to take the game seriously. I crouched behind a wall. I waited. I listened for footsteps. I was convinced I was about to execute the greatest tactical maneuver in Roblox history. Then I forgot which direction I was facing and walked directly into the enemy team. I died before I even understood what happened. At this point, I started laughing because the situation had become too stupid to take seriously. I was sitting in my chair, holding a drink, watching a blocky Roblox character repeatedly get murdered because the person controlling him had temporarily lost the ability to operate a keyboard. It was beautiful. It was also deeply humiliating. I tried one more round and decided to use strategy instead of raw aim. I found a corner and waited for someone to walk past. I heard footsteps. Someone appeared. I aimed. I fired. Somehow I got the kill. I was ecstatic. I had done it. I had finally proven myself. I immediately spun around, ran into a wall, fell off the map, and died. My greatest achievement lasted approximately 4 seconds. This was the moment I realized Roblox while drunk is less of a gaming experience and more of a live demonstration of cognitive decline. Every normal action became a side quest. Opening a door required planning. Jumping over an obstacle required courage. Reading text required archaeological analysis. A simple staircase looked like an engineering project. I eventually joined a roleplay game because I figured there was no mechanical skill required. Surely I could stand around and pretend to be a normal human being. I spawned in as some random Roblox citizen and immediately walked into a restaurant. There were players sitting around talking. One person was pretending to be a waiter. Another person was driving a car through the building because apparently laws do not exist in this particular universe. I sat down at a table and decided to order food. The waiter asked what I wanted. I stared at the menu. There were several options. My brain immediately crashed. I typed burger. The waiter asked which burger. This was an unacceptable escalation. I had already made my decision. Now I was being asked to provide additional information. I typed yes. The waiter stood there for a moment. I stood there. We both understood the conversation had reached its natural conclusion. Eventually, they walked away. I remained seated, staring at a virtual table, wondering how I had managed to fail at ordering imaginary food. Then a player walked over and started talking to me. I tried to respond, but my typing speed had degraded into something resembling a Victorian telegram operator suffering from exhaustion. I typed one word at a time. Hello, pause, how, pause, are, pause, you. The player responded instantly. I suddenly felt like I was communicating with a supercomputer. I tried to keep the conversation going, but eventually I sent a message so incoherent that even I did not understand what I had written. The player simply walked away. Fair enough. I would have walked away too. I then decided to play a horror game because apparently I had not suffered enough. Horror games while drunk are strange because the fear becomes mixed with complete confusion. Normally, you hear a noise behind you and turn around immediately. I heard a noise behind me and spent several seconds trying to remember whether I was supposed to turn around. Then the monster appeared. I screamed. My character screamed. The monster probably experienced some confusion because instead of running, I walked directly toward it. I was not brave. I had simply forgotten the objective. The monster killed me and I laughed so hard I had to put the drink down. I respawned and tried again. This time, I decided to follow another player because they clearly knew what they were doing. They ran through a hallway. I followed them. They opened a door. I followed them. They turned left. I turned right. Within seconds, I had completely lost them. I was alone in a dark hallway with a monster somewhere nearby and absolutely no idea where I was. I opened the map. The map looked like someone had spilled spaghetti onto a piece of paper. I closed the map. I accepted my fate. Then I heard footsteps. I started running. I had no plan. I did not know where the exit was. I simply moved forward with the confidence of a man who had never experienced consequences. I turned a corner and ran directly into the monster. The game ended immediately. At this point, I decided to return to something peaceful. I opened Brookhaven and attempted to live a normal virtual life. I spawned a car, got inside, and drove approximately 20 feet before crashing into another player. They started typing in chat. I could not tell whether they were angry or joking. I apologized. Then I accidentally reversed into them. I apologized again. Then I pressed the wrong button and drove into a house. I stopped moving. The other player walked over to my car. They stared at me through the windshield. I stared back. There was no dialogue necessary. We both understood what had happened. I had become a public hazard. I drove away before the situation escalated. 5 minutes later, I found myself in a Roblox police station. I do not remember entering the police station. I do not know why I was there. I walked around the building, opened random doors, sat behind a desk, and started pretending to be an officer. Someone walked in and asked me for help. I typed, "What happened?" They explained a situation. I read it twice and understood absolutely nothing. I typed, "Follow me." I walked outside. They followed me. I walked into a wall. They stopped. I turned around. They were still staring at me. I typed, "Wrong way." We went in the opposite direction. Eventually, I ended up in a helicopter. I had no idea how I got there. I flew the helicopter for roughly 8 seconds before crashing into a tree. Somehow, the tree remained perfectly intact. My Roblox character did not. I was starting to understand the central problem here. Roblox gives you an enormous amount of freedom, but alcohol gives you an enormous amount of confidence in decisions that should never have been made. Together, they create a dangerous combination where every terrible idea feels like a brilliant experiment. I started switching between games rapidly. Every game lasted about 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes ended with me doing something so stupid that I had to move on. I played a simulator and forgot what I was clicking. I played a racing game and drove into a wall. I played a fighting game and punched the wrong person. I played a tycoon and spent several minutes staring at an empty plot because I forgot where the buttons were. At one point, I opened the avatar editor and spent what felt like an hour trying to put a hat on my character. The hat was already on my character. I had been trying to equip something I had already equipped. This was the final boss. Not some terrifying monster, not an overpowered player, a hat. Eventually, I looked at the clock and realized how much time had passed. what felt like 20 minutes had somehow become hours. I had accomplished almost nothing. I had won almost nothing. I had lost repeatedly to buildings, walls, stairs, players, monsters, menus, vehicles, and basic game mechanics. Yet somehow, this was one of the funniest gaming sessions I had experienced in a long time. There is something uniquely ridiculous about watching yourself become progressively worse at a game you normally understand perfectly. Roblox is already a bizarre place where someone can spend an afternoon pretending to be a millionaire, fighting monsters, running a restaurant, becoming a police officer, or raising a digital baby. Add impaired decision-making to the equation, and suddenly, every game becomes experimental theater. The strange part is that I kept believing I was about to turn things around. Every time I died, I thought, okay, now I understand. Then I would immediately make the exact same mistake again. It was a cycle of confidence, failure, confusion, and laughter. Eventually, I closed Roblox. I looked at my desktop for a moment and felt like I had returned from a long expedition. I had started the night thinking I would prove that I could still play Roblox while drunk. Instead, Roblox had proven that I could barely operate Roblox while drunk. My character had suffered more tragedies in one evening than most fictional protagonists experience across an entire trilogy. I had entered servers with confidence and left them as a cautionary tale. The lesson here is simple. Roblox does not become easier when you drink. Your brain simply becomes convinced that every terrible decision is part of the strategy. You start walking into walls with purpose. You start missing shots with confidence. You start crashing cars with conviction. You start typing messages that look like encrypted military communications. And somehow, after all of this, you still believe the next round will be different. It will not be different. You will spawn in, walk into a wall, get killed by someone named something like XX Darkwolf Slayer XX, and immediately blame the server. Then you will queue for another match, because apparently humans are incapable of learning from anything. And that is exactly how I spent my night playing Roblox, while drunk. I did not become a better player. I did not discover some secret technique. I did not become a Roblox legend. I became the guy in the server everyone probably remembers as the random player who drove a helicopter into a tree and then tried to order a burger at a restaurant. Honestly, I think that is enough progress for one evening.